Hello, everybody. I'm Ricky Smith. Welcome to Faith on Friday Presents. At Faith on Friday Presents, we're all about highlighting inspiring people, engaging topics, and small businesses. And don't forget, while you're here, like, subscribe, and share this YouTube channel, as well as like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. You don't want to miss a thing. All right, so today's going to be an interesting topic and maybe tough. Some of us have dealt with it already. Some of us don't know how to, but keep living, and it's coming your way. Is there a good way? Is there a bad way? Is there a statute of limitations? What are we talking about? Grief. You all, I'm going to introduce you to somebody who has not only dealt with it personally, but also deals with it professionally. Everybody, please say hello to my friend, Suzanne Jabour. Hey, Suzanne, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much. And I just want to reassure people who already feel like they want to turn off the episode and run for the hills. I promise you this is going to be a relatively straightforward conversation. It's going to be relatively lighthearted if you can understand that that actually works in the grief space. And my goal always really is to open up conversations about grief where people want to lean in and not run away screaming. So that's my promise
All
to
right.
you. It's not going to be that scary and horrifying. It's going to be very straightforward and natural, and there's no need to turn it off. Just
All
stick with
right.
us. I
See,
promise it'll be worth it.
stay here. So y'all now have your disclaimer. All is going to be well. All
It's going to
right.
be okay. You're in good
Suzanne,
hands.
before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're located.
I'm in Vancouver, Canada. So if you're in the US and you know anything about Seattle, I'm basically in the Canadian version of Seattle, just on the other side of the border. I live 10 minutes walk from the beach. I have a great dog who also loves the beach.
Wow.
And I'm a grief educator. So I spend my life talking about grief in a way that makes you not want to run away screaming and hopefully helps you feel like you have a little bit more confidence, a few more skills, some ideas to try. Because as
Hmm.
you said so appropriately, it is coming for all of us.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this more, but we're in it all the time.
Yeah.
And we really are not very good at it as a collective. So my
Yeah.
mission is to really shift that because if we understand it's a no shame, no blame conversation, we're just not good
Hmm.
at it. And the
Hmm.
way we counterbalance not good at something and being scared of something is with information. So I'm here to
Information is
provide the
key.
information that
I
makes
love
it
it
less.
because information is the key to so
That's it.
many issues, concerns, and problems. So, Suzanne, let's start with this. How did you get into the grief space? What happened there?
Yeah. So, like most people who work in the grief space, sadly, it generally comes from our own personal experience because we
Hmm.
have the kind of loss, which for me was the death of my son, Ben. He
Hmm.
died in September of 2020 at the age of 22.
Wow.
And that death was, as you can imagine, if you will allow yourself to do so,
Yeah.
as catastrophic and horrifying and terrible and discombobulating, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
and just such an intense rupture in my life that I found out almost immediately that I didn't know enough about grief to be able to survive it. I just didn't know enough. I
Wow.
didn't know about the symptoms. I didn't know what was going to happen. And it was really scary.
Hmm.
Those early days can be really, really scary
I would
because
think they'd
the
have to
brain
be.
fog is intense and what's
Sure.
happening is so big and your whole life feels like it's blown apart and you
Hmm.
don't even know how to breathe. Like you're sobbing
Yeah.
so hard you can't breathe. And that's where my curiosity first started was literally, how do I breathe? When I'm
Yeah.
sobbing so hard, doing that ugly
Hmm.
cry.
Mm.
And I'm going, we've all heard
All the
that
things.
gasping noise.
Sure.
How do you oxygenate your body? Like this is not
Yeah.
sustainable.
It's
And
interesting. One of the things that you said is you did not know how to. But does anybody really know how to grieve? I mean, we
no.
understand the concept of grief in and of, and it doesn't have to be the death of a thing. It could be the loss of a job, the loss of a relationship, something, catastrophic is catastrophic to you. So when you
Mhm.
said, I did not know how to, how is that even a sentence? Who knows how to grieve? What does that mean?
Well, we don't. And this is part of what I became so fascinated by is
Mhm.
that because as humans, as you have figured out, which is why you share these amazing stories, we learn from each other. We learn from
Mhm.
sharing our story. We learn from sharing what's true for us. So
Mhm.
when we have a topic like grief that is taboo, it's surrounded with fear, with
Mhm.
silence, with dismissal, with
Oh,
isolation.
yeah.
We're not sharing our stories. So
Mhm.
I hadn't learned from anyone else how
Wow.
to do it.
Mhm.
And as I learned more and as I really was very attuned to my own grief journey,
All right.
I started to see, when my dad died, I remember having conversations with my brothers, wondering what
Mhm.
on earth was wrong with our mom. Like, what is going
Wow.
on with her? Like, she's making all these weird decisions and she's doing all this weird.
Right.
Well, she had brain fog. It's very
Mhm.
normal. It's part of
Mhm.
grief. It's what
Yeah.
happens. But I didn't know that's what it was. When it happened
Mhm.
to me, I didn't know that's what it was. And until I
Sure.
started to learn and really be a student of grief for
Mhm.
myself, for my own
Mhm.
experience, so I could support my daughter, other
Yeah.
people in our lives, I didn't know enough about it to be able
Yeah.
to go, oh, that's what's happening to me. And that's normal.
Yeah. I
But
like what you
because
said. You
we
made
don't
it.
know, we don't understand that it's normal. And this is
It
what's,
is.
not that
There's
there's any supposed to's in grief, except
exactly.
symptoms are you're supposed to have,
Right. And it's okay.
varieties of
There's
them.
nothing wrong with you.
Yeah,
Grief is a part, sadly, of the human condition. We're all
absolutely.
going to suffer it at some point for some reason. And there's literally nothing wrong with anyone who's going through that grief. And I like what you said. It's normal. That brain fog, that making these random decisions, that's eating everything, crying randomly all the time, going places you'd never go. You're
Yeah,
okay.
all of that.
You're not broken. You're okay. So moving forward, as you began to study grief and become educated, where did you find your information?
I started out really on Facebook, which sounds really bizarre. But
Kinda.
in the early days for me, I couldn't read. I mean, there's so many amazing books. I
Mhm.
couldn't read very well. And I had no comprehension, like no retention of what I read.
Yeah.
So I had to find small bites of information. And where you find that is places like Facebook. And I
Mhm.
found experts, I found groups of people sharing their stories, and I learned from what other people were sharing online. And
Wow.
then really when I realized this was a big part of my mission and what I was on this planet to do,
Mhm.
I got some education. I went and took a certification in being a grief educator because
Okay.
I wanted to know how much of my experience had been typical and how much of
Mhm.
it had been atypical because people in my life weren't sharing openly about their grief experiences.
Sure. Yeah.
And I wanted to really understand a broader perspective. So I did go get some actual formal training
Mhm.
um, because I knew that I had cracked a code for me,
Mhm.
but I wasn't sure how much of that was a code that would apply well to others.
What a great point. So, Suzanne, when you were going through what you call your grief journey, because that's literally what it is,
Mhm.
what's one of the first things that you remember learning that helped you?
So one of the very first things was that how do you breathe when you're sobbing so hard you can't breathe?
Wow.
And I had just before Ben died, I had heard a podcast.
Mhm.
It was a Brene Brown one with these two
Mhm.
sisters whose names I still cannot remember,
Mhm.
who wrote this amazing book, which this is Brain Fog in Action. It's been 3.5 years. They tell me the brain fog is for 5 years. I'm so excited for the next year and a half for it to get better. What on earth is the book called? I'm going to find the name of the book and I'll send it to you so you can put it in the
Okay.
show.
Definitely.
It's an amazing book about the stress cycle. And what
Mhm.
they talked about was this way that when you're crying that way, you shift your attention.
Huh.
And so this is a great tool when you're doing that ugly cry. We get so in our head about, oh my gosh, like we go down the rabbit hole of what's happened, right?
Mhm.
Son has died. I'm so confused. My whole life has fallen apart. Like we go down that rabbit hole of everything being horrible, which it is.
Right.
I'm not trying to minimize how horrible it
Sure.
is because
Mhm.
it is. And I need to breathe. And what they talk about, the book is called Burnout. You'd think I could
Got
remember
it.
that. Fabulous book. I highly recommend it. What they talk about is shifting your attention to what's happening physically.
Mhm.
So you shift your attention to, oh, my face is all squinched up. Oh, there's
Mhm.
tears. Oh, the snot is coming out of my nose,
Right.
right? My belly feels all upset. I'm so clenched. Like you shift your attention to what's happening to you physically, and
Mhm.
that closes the stress cycle and allows you to breathe.
Wow.
So that was one of the
Golly.
first things. That's
Uh,
where I started.
Breathing is important. It's a
I
thing.
wasn't going to be able to do anything else unless I
I
could do that.
know. And as we're talking about Ben, girl, I am so sorry for
Yeah.
that loss. I cannot imagine what that is like. Like you said, if you can allow yourself to imagine it. I can't.
Hmm.
I can't.
Yeah. And that's
But
okay.
but going through that, somebody is watching this right now and they're saying in their head, which she doesn't understand what I'm going through.
Mhm.
Mine is different than hers.
Yeah.
At the time of grief, is it different than anybody else's in the whole wide world?
Yes. That's the
I
short
love that.
answer. So when you
Yeah.
feel like nobody can possibly understand what you're going through,
Hmm.
in a weird way, you're right.
Yeah.
Because none of us have the same attachments to the people in our lives. None of us have the same imagined future with the people in our lives. None of us have those same things. It's never going
Hmm.
to be exactly the same. And there are some very predictable symptoms that come with grief that we could
Hmm.
share and talk about those. And even if my story is different from someone else's, the fact that we have both grieved
Hmm.
something that was really important to us, whether it's a child or a job or a whatever. I
Hmm.
think the hierarchy that we have of things that we kind of collectively think are worthy of grief, like it's worth grieving,
Wow. Hmm.
like as someone who kind of won that hierarchy with the death of a child, that
Hmm.
doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve anyone else.
Right.
So
Right.
we have to acknowledge that each grief is
Hmm.
unique and individual, and
Hmm.
at the same time, it's universal. So it's this really interesting dance of, I'm very
Yeah.
careful to say it's never going to be the same. My grief is not
Hmm.
the same as another parent who lost a son who was
Sure.
22 who had depression and anxiety. They could be
Hmm.
exactly the same story, and it's not
Hmm.
the same grief.
Yeah.
But
Gosh, that
it's also universal.
that is amazing because one of the things that you just said that made me think is that though the griefs aren't the same, we have the same symptoms.
Mhm.
Now, when I think of symptoms, I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's universal. So I'm grieving, I'm crying, I have no idea, I can't sleep, can't find anything, I don't want to talk to
Yep.
anybody, my phone rang, and now I'm going, and I no longer am able to function. Can you give us, say, like, real quickly, what are 5 symptoms of grief? Just the symptoms. What would those be?
The biggest one we don't talk about is the brain fog. And that's also the one with the most impact. So your
Hmm.
brain is busy doing all kinds of things. That's a whole different episode. There's great
Sure.
research on what your brain is actually doing. What you're experiencing is that it doesn't work at all. So
Hmm.
brain fog, really major symptom. Sleep issues, you're either sleeping too much, not enough. Same with
Hmm.
eating, too much, not enough, not at
Hmm.
all. Very normal to lose your relationship with time. Time becomes
Wow.
really complicated. And that's
I
one
would have
that
never
people
thought
don't talk
that.
about. Yeah, but it
Yeah.
becomes really complicated to remember like
Wow.
what day it is, what time it is, where am I supposed to be,
Sure.
when, all of that time stuff. That your
Yeah.
person died, like Ben died now 3.5 years ago. It feels like yesterday. And at the same time,
Hmm.
a million years ago. Like your relationship with
Yeah.
time becomes very
That's
different.
interesting.
Your
Hmm.
ability to interact with other people shifts immensely. Like as you said,
Hmm.
oh, the phone is ringing. I cannot even imagine putting together sentences and talking with anybody. Like,
Right.
because it really feels like what people want to talk about is nothing. And
Hmm.
the only thing that's important is
Oh,
this
wow.
catastrophic thing that happened to me.
Hmm.
And
I
I'm
like
not
that.
capable of talking about nothing.
Hmm. Right
So that
now,
means I
regardless
can't
of what
talk
it
to
is.
people.
Yeah. And so you
So
find
this
yourself drawing
isolation
away.
is really tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a
Because
5? Did I get 5? Muscular
that,
symptoms,
mhm,
tingling, upset tummy,
mhm.
nausea, all kinds of physiological, physical things.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the losses in my life over the years, and the one thing that I did not think of is the time.
Yeah.
You know, my mom died. Uh, it's been almost 30 years now, but like you said, it's been 30 years, but it feels like it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's so
Yeah.
interesting that the time, and I'm sure some people watching who have lost people, lost relationships, lost jobs, they can kind of relate to that thing as well. So going forward still, now you've gotten trained, you have gotten better. That's one thing. Do you really ever get better, or do you just, I can now function? What's the right term?
So I struggle with better because it makes it sound like grief is bad. And grief isn't
Wow.
bad. Grief is normal. So we're not trying to get better from it. We're not trying
Right,
to recover from it because there's
right,
nothing wrong with it.
right.
So what my goal always is integration. We're not trying to leave our
Hmm.
person behind. We're not trying to move on. We're not trying to get over it.
Right.
We don't, all of that
Wow.
kind of sounds like we have to now ignore that our person ever existed. None of us want
Right.
that. It's
Mm-mm.
about integration. How do I live my life and grieve?
What's your new
How do I
normal?
do amazing things
Yeah.
and grieve, because I will grieve forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that loss will be sharp to me as a parent in a
Mm-hmm.
different way than the losses of my parents that, happened earlier than I wanted, but still in
Sure.
order.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about that out of order loss that's a little bit different.
I like that, the out
And
of order loss, because you should
yeah,
not bury your child.
no, it's not right.
That
But it
exactly, that
happens
doesn't,
all the
right.
time, right?
Sadly.
But our
Mm-hmm.
story is that it's not right.
Yeah.
So it disrupts us in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about integration. It's about how do we move forward with Ben? How do we bring
Mm-hmm.
him with us? How do
Mm-hmm.
we remember him in ways that feel healthy and vibrant and,
Yeah.
keep him present in a way that isn't sad
Mm-hmm.
or desperate or full of longing, even
Right.
though, we, of course, have longing for him to be,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
but that honor the amazing person he was, is, the presence he
Yeah.
is in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we find spaces to even talk about that? Because that's another
Yeah.
thing people don't want to talk about, right? We want you to be
Mm-hmm.
over it. We want you to preferably grieve quickly
Right.
out of
Because
our
it makes
presence,
us
right?
comfortable. I
Yeah,
can be comfortable. I know that you had a loss and I'm so sorry, but do we really need to talk about that all the time?
yeah.
Yes, we need to talk about it all the time.
It's
Yeah,
literally the only thing I can talk about. So if you would like to talk to
exactly.
me, we're going to be talking about grief. But we
So,
don't feel empowered to say that. Like for me as a griever,
yeah.
I knew that was the only way I was going to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I was a grieving mom, grieving out loud. So if you didn't want to talk about
Grieve
grief,
out
there
loud.
was nothing for us to talk about.
Yeah, I like that. Grieve out loud, because we've been
Yeah.
conditioned in our society that grief is personal. You
And
need to be in your closet and grieve, close your doors, and then put it all together when you go outside so other people are not uncomfortable.
yeah.
What would you say to somebody who has a friend that has lost something, someone? How
Mhm.
do they approach them? What should I say to my friend?
That is the question I get asked the absolute most.
Yeah.
What should I say? I'm going to preface that by embracing something that you said is about that uncomfortability. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be prepared to be uncomfortable.
Mm.
We're learning a new
Wow.
skill, right? If we look at
Yeah,
it as a lack of information, a lack of practice, which is what happens when something is taboo and silent,
sure.
we're learning a new skill. New skills are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's okay. We've all been uncomfortable before. We've all learned
Mm-hmm.
new skills before.
Sure.
When it comes to what to say, I wish I could come up with the one perfect thing you could say to everyone in your life that's grieving any old thing.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't one.
No.
All of the cliche platitudes, you're going to brainstorm them. You're going to write them on a piece of paper. You're going to have a ceremonial burning and you're never going to say them again.
Wow. A ceremonial burning. I love it.
Just never say them again. We need to all release them back to like 1950 or wherever they came from. We need to all go back there. What you
Oh,
can
that's so
say
good.
is something open, vulnerable, honest from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
What I hear from people all the time is the biggest fear is that they will do harm. And
Mm-hmm.
what I know for sure is if you are speaking from your heart and you're being honest, it's
Yeah.
impossible to do harm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 100% okay to be honest about where you're at.
Right.
I don't know very much about grief. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know how to support you. I for sure don't know the perfect words because I know enough to know there aren't any.
Right.
And I care about you deeply, and I'm here for the long haul, and we're going to figure this out together.
Yeah. Oh, that right there is enough, because sometimes you don't have to say anything. Just show up.
No, just show up. And
Just
really,
be
the
with
universal,
me.
when we're talking about the individuality of grief and how it's different every time, and it's
Mhm.
different for each of us every time. So it's not even like I
Yeah.
have one way to grieve. Every time it's different. The universal thing is grief needs witnessing.
Oh,
We
wait,
need
I'm sorry. What? Grief
grief
needs
needs
witnessing.
witnessing.
What does that mean?
That means we need those caring support people to show up and just be there.
Oh,
We need to be
okay, you've changed
seen in our pain,
my whole life right now is
right?
changed. I love that. We need to be seen in our pain.
Yeah. Because if the
Oh,
messaging that you're getting is that your pain is unacceptable, that means you are unacceptable. It means your experience is invalidated. It means all kinds of horrible things.
sure.
We need to be seen and
Yeah.
accepted in our pain.
That is so good. That right there is so good. Let's take away the stigma of you're grieving, go to your room.
Yeah.
cry
No more
in
crying in the
private.
bathroom. I talk to
Yeah.
grievers all the time that are crying in the bathroom. They're crying in their car. They're leaving their office at lunch,
Yeah.
cry in the car.
Hmm.
Enough. Enough. We would
Stand in the
never
middle of the room
apologize.
and break
Yeah.
out. I love it.
We
I
would
love
never
it.
apologize for crying tears of joy, but
It's
we'd
true.
hide when we're crying tears of sorrow.
Oh, that is just so mind changing. Absolutely a different dichotomy based on what we've learned, what we've seen, and what we ourselves have experienced.
Mhm.
Suzanne, I want to ask you this for somebody watching this right now. They're grieving.
Mhm.
They think they're doing it the right way, but they're
Right.
miserable.
Mhm.
Please do me a favor. Talk to that person right now.
If you are grieving and you feel like you're doing it right, because there is no right and wrong, there is only your way. You need to understand that your way is the right way. No matter what people have told you, no matter what other people's expectations are, what is happening for you is normal. If people talked about it, you would have heard from other people that they experienced it, and they would be there to help you, but they don't know how.
Mm.
They deeply care and they don't know how. So you have to give yourself permission to grieve exactly the way you need to. Because right now, the reality is nobody else is capable of giving it to us.
Yeah.
So we have to give it to ourselves first. And then you need to find safe places to be witnessed. And that will change everything.
It's the witnessing part for me. Suzanne, there's so much information here and so much we need to continue to talk about. But if somebody watching this needed to reach out to you or wanted to finish this conversation, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, the best place to get me is on my website. It's very easy. It's suzannejabour.com. So you're going to get the name from the show notes. I bet you the link will be there. You're going to click on there, and that link you can get on my calendar and have a meeting. We can have a one-on-one conversation. If you love pod and podcasts, I have a special thing. You can go to suzannejabour.com/podcasts, and I'll actually email you 10 of my favorite episodes that cover everything from my story to how to do it in your workplace, more of this kind of information, because I know that people love to listen and they want to watch. And so lots of them are on
Yeah.
YouTube too. And all of the
Okay.
links to all of those things are on the website. So suzannejabour.com is all you need to know.
Perfect. Don't worry. If you all did not get that information, all of Suzanne's contact stuff will be in the description below, as well as everything from her podcast. You will be able to find her, I promise. And don't forget, like and subscribe and share this YouTube channel, as well as follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. Suzanne, my friend, before I let you go, we have to play a
Yes,
game.
we get to play a game.
So this game is so simple. I'm going to ask you some stuff and you're just going to tell me what you like. The game is
Okay,
called What's Your Favorite? Are you ready to play?
I'm ready. Okay, bring it on.
Let's do it. All right, Suzanne, what's your favorite season of the year?
Ooh, spring or fall, it's a tie.
Okay, spring or fall is the tie. I like it. What's
Yeah.
your favorite genre of music?
Oh, oh, probably Broadway.
Are you a show tunes girl?
I'm a show tunes girl.
I love show tunes. That is so
Yeah.
good. That is so
Yeah.
awesome. What is your favorite food?
Oh, pasta.
Really?
That's easy.
You're like, yes, please, pasta, make it all day. What is your favorite day of the week?
Ooh. Oh gosh, is there supposed to be a favorite? That's hard. Um, I'm gonna say Sunday.
Okay. Is there a reason why we like Sunday?
Because Sunday usually is a really calm day in my life, and I usually get to go for a long walk with the dog to the beach and play and just relax and have fun. I love Sunday.
Man, you're making me want to love a Sunday. I think that's great. And finally, Suzanne, what would you tell your 13-year-old self right now?
Oh, I would tell my 13-year-old self that it's all going to be okay. And if you just keep loving yourself, everything will be fine.